Ever feel like your brain's just buzzing? Too much information flying around, especially when you try to pin down something like, well, your own well-being.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to get tangled up.
Yeah, trying to understand, mental state, sense of self, how we connect. It's a lot.
It is.
So today we're kind of cutting through that noise.
Exactly. Think of this deep dive as maybe a shortcut.
Yeah.
Getting some real clarity on that tangle between mental health, social identity, and connection. And we're leaning heavily on insights from Dr. Curtis Peterson.
Right, we've got a good stack of his work here.
We do. Ready to boil it down for you.
So our mission today really is to unpack the core differences. Mental health versus mental illness, they're not the same thing.
Not at all.
And then explore how our social world, identity, connection, how profoundly that impacts our inner world.
And hopefully offer you some actionable understanding, things you can use to navigate your own life, your relationships, just with a bit more awareness.
Think of it as getting an informed head start on some really crucial stuff.
Yep. We'll pull out the key takeaways, some frankly surprising facts, and latest research. Should be comprehensive, but, accessible.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Let's do it.
Right, first big thing. Mental health versus mental illness. We toss those terms around sometimes like they mean the same thing. But Dr. Peterson has this analogy. What's the key idea he's trying to get across there?
Well, the biggest thing is they aren't the same. He compares it to physical health versus physical disorders.
Okay.
A lot of people think, oh, I don't have a diagnosed mental illness, so my mental health must be great. But that's not necessarily true.
Right. Like being physically healthy isn't just about not having the flu right now.
Exactly. Physical health involves things you do: diet, exercise, sleep. Mental health is similar. It's about healthy relationships, emotional intelligence, exercising your brain, having a positive mindset, a growth mindset. It's active.
Active cultivation, not just the absence of disease. So sticking with the analogy, someone physically healthy can still, break their arm, right? Does that hold up mentally?
It absolutely does. Someone with really robust mental health could still experience a mental disorder. And importantly, someone with a diagnosis can still work on and improve aspects of their mental health.
Okay.
But, and this is the really crucial bit Dr. Peterson stresses, just like being physically fit makes you less likely to get certain physical illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Having stronger mental health decreases your probability of developing a mental disorder. It's a buffer, a protective factor.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if mental health is this active, positive thing, how does Dr. Peterson define mental illness?
Yeah.
What are the signs, the characteristics?
Mental illness involves behaviors or states that are, extreme, often dysregulating. We're talking things like sustained elation, and that's not just joy, it's more manic,
Right.
potentially harmful.
Okay.
Repetitive behaviors, aggression, delusions, constantly negative thoughts, self-harm, paranoia, chronic worry, anxiety, fear, and often a really negative view of other people.
And what about abnormal behavior? Is that different from illness? Where's the line?
Yeah. So abnormal behaviors are like deviations from what we'd consider typical healthy functioning.
Mm-hmm.
But one or two might not equal a full disorder.
Examples.
Dr. Peterson lists things like ongoing sadness, hallucinations, really irregular sleep, a pervasive negative affect that's like a constant gloominess or irritability,
Got it.
violence, depressed mood that hangs around, unhealthy self-indulgence, or thoughts of harm.
So you might see these behaviors. What makes it tip over into a diagnosable disorder?
Okay, so a disorder is usually a cluster of these abnormal behaviors. And the key things that make it a disorder are they're deviant, meaning they're outside social norms, they cause real distress to the person or others, they're persistent, they stick around, and this is maybe the most important, they're maladaptive.
Maladaptive meaning?
Meaning they get in the way, they seriously interfere with the person's ability to function day to day. Work, relationships, just taking care of themselves.
Okay. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit controversial even. Dr. Peterson argues that poor mental health is often more the culprit behind really bad decisions. He mentions things like school shootings, bullying, than a specific mental illness. That kind of goes against the grain, doesn't it?
It does challenge common assumptions.
Can you unpack that? What is it about just poor mental health, not necessarily a diagnosis, that he thinks leads to such terrible outcomes?
It's a really important distinction he makes. So mental illness is a clinical thing, right?
Right.
A diagnosis. But poor mental health, that's the absence of those protective things we talked about. Emotional intelligence, resilience, healthy connections, a growth mindset.
Right.
He argues it's this lack of internal resources that leaves people vulnerable. It makes them susceptible to bad judgment, impulsive actions, maybe destructive behaviors,
Yeah.
often because they just can't cope with stress effectively. Or maybe they don't perceive reality quite right. It's less about specific illness symptoms and more about a weak foundation.
Huh. So it really underlines the importance of building good mental health as a preventative measure.
Exactly. Building that foundation for sound judgment, for resilience.
Which leads us neatly into this whole area of identity and connection.
Yep.
What does Dr. Peterson see as the big factors influencing our mental health, both positively and negatively?
He lays out some clear dynamics. On the plus side, having a strong sense of social identity, belonging to a culture, versus feeling adrift, experiencing like a continuous inner happiness, not just fleeting situational joy.
Okay.
Genuine social connection versus loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
healthy friendships, intimate relationships.
Right.
Leading a life where you feel engaged, authentic, like you're thriving, not just getting by.
Right.
Also how you frame things, seeing the positive, seeking out new experiences, engaging with the world, not pulling away. And of course, underlying all that are biological and physical factors too.
You mentioned social identity. Dr. Peterson links it to these really deep questions. Where do I belong? Who do I belong to? How does he define social identity in our sort of overall self-concept?
He sees it as absolutely critical, a fundamental part of our self-concept, right alongside our personal individual self.
Okay.
It directly answers those questions.
Yeah.
It's about the groups we feel part of, our place in those groups, and how that shapes who we believe we are. It's really foundational to feeling like we belong somewhere.
And tied into that is loneliness. He talks about that too. And it's not just one simple feeling, is it?
No, it's quite nuanced. He defines loneliness itself as this negative emotional motivational state. It's weird because it kind of pushes you to protect yourself, but also makes you crave connection.
Paradoxical.
Yeah, very. And he breaks it down. There's social loneliness, that's feeling isolated, like you don't have enough connections, not part of a wider network, also called social isolation.
Right.
Then there's emotional loneliness. That's specifically the pain of lacking or losing a really close, intimate bond, like with a partner or a best friend.
Okay. Different flavors of loneliness. Yeah. And then there's social rejection, which is slightly different again. It's the immediate sting, sometimes even physical feeling pain of being actively pushed away by someone or a group. Not always chronic loneliness, but an acute event.
That distinction feels important. So what happens if our identity gets shaken or denied or we experience these kinds of loneliness? The consequences Dr. Peterson outlines are pretty severe, and honestly, one of them surprised me.
They are profound, yeah. When identity is damaged or loneliness takes hold, social, emotional, that general failure to belong that links to higher morbidity, so more illness, suicide, addiction, chronic relationship issues, homelessness, serious mood disorders, criminal behavior, aggression towards others, towards society,
Wow.
gang affiliation, family problems, being really closed-minded, even deep self-hatred. It's a grim list.
It really is. What was the surprising one, though?
Ah, right. He also lists lower mortality in some specific contexts, which sounds totally backward.
Yeah. How does that work?
His explanation is that in extreme cases of social withdrawal, people become so isolated that paradoxically, they might be less exposed to certain external risks, accidents, conflicts, things that happen when you're out interacting in the world.
Huh. So it's not a good thing, just a statistical quirk of extreme isolation.
Exactly. It's a stark, almost tragic outcome, definitely not desirable,
Yeah.
just a reflection of complete disengagement.
Chilling. Okay, on a more hopeful note,
Yeah.
if someone is feeling that lack of belonging, Dr. Peterson offers this framework, EASE. What's that about?
Yeah, EASE. It's a practical acronym, a way to consciously step back towards connection.
Okay.
E is for extend yourself. Take that first step, reach out.
Okay.
A is for action plan. Don't just vaguely wish for connection. Make a concrete plan, how, when, who.
Right.
S is for selection. Choose your connections wisely. Aim for positive, reciprocal relationships.
Makes sense. And the last E.
E is expect the best. Try to go into new interactions with a positive outlook, not assuming rejection. It's about being proactive and strategic about building connections.
That's helpful. Practical. What about when our identities clash? There was some recent research, you and others in 2023, about competing social identities. What did they find?
Yeah, that's fascinating. They found that people experiencing conflict between their social identities, like the example used was Native American youth balancing traditional culture and modern society, these individuals actually have more trouble planning for the future, seeing beyond the immediate moment.
Really?
Yeah. It suggests that this internal identity conflict can mess with our cognitive processes, our ability to sort of envision and work towards longer-term goals. Shows how deep identity runs.
So identity gives us belonging, which is crucial, but it clearly has a dark side too, leading to prejudice, discrimination. Where did social identity theory even start?
Well, originally it was developed to try and understand some really dark stuff. How huge groups of people could end up doing horrific things to other groups.
Like dehumanization.
Exactly. How does that happen on a mass scale? The theory tries to explain the group dynamics involved.
And I guess social comparison theory plays a big role in that. This idea that we want to feel good about our own group.
Precisely. It's the basic human thing, right? We compare our in-group, the groups we belong to, with out-groups, people who are different. And we generally want our group to come out on top.
So how does that lead to prejudice?
Two main ways. One is downward comparison, basically, putting down other groups to make your own group feel better, superior.
Okay.
The other is upward comparison. That's when another group is seen as somehow better, maybe more successful, more status. That can breed resentment, hostility, envy.
Right.
And both of those dynamics, downward and upward comparison, can unfortunately fuel prejudice and discrimination.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining that positive group distinction, sometimes at the expense of others.
It lays bare the mechanics pretty clearly. Okay, let's shift to some really recent findings. It seems like 2023, 2024, they brought some quite powerful insights about social connection. That Jordan study from 2023, the one calling social connection a self-care strategy, that really stood out. It found it was potentially more effective than, say, therapy or meds for certain things.
Yeah, that one's pretty remarkable.
What does Dr. Peterson think is going on there? Why is connection so powerful?
Well, Dr. Peterson highlights that it taps into a really core human need to belong, to be seen, to be validated. When you feel genuinely connected, it does a few things. It reduces that sense of isolation, obviously, but it also helps regulate your emotions. You co-regulate with others, and it boosts your self-worth. It's not just about having a nice chat. It's activating neurobiological pathways that directly fight the physical and mental symptoms of distress.
So it's like building an inherent support system.
Exactly. A buffer against stress, promoting healing in ways that more individual approaches might not fully capture on their own. It's fundamental.
Not just a nice to have, foundational. That's a big takeaway. What other recent research on connections stands out?
There are quite a few powerful ones. Ammerman and Giacobucci in 2023. They put it very starkly. Their finding boiled down to suicide equals depression plus loneliness.
Wow. That direct.
Yeah, just underscores how vital connection is as a buffer. Then Zhang and colleagues, also in 2023, they linked alexithymia, that's difficulty identifying your own emotions,
Okay.
but they linked that to loneliness, which in turn led to non-suicidal self-injury in adolescence, like a chain reaction. Can't feel your feelings, feel alone, self-harm.
That's rough. What about longer term impacts like education? Someone looked at dropout rates.
Burke et al., 2023. Yeah, they showed that boosting social connections and reducing loneliness in middle school actually lowers high school dropout rates later on.
So intervening early really matters.
Hugely. And it's not just kids. For older adults, Zhao and also Haslam et al., both in 2023, found that keeping up career social connections after retiring helps people live longer, healthier lives. Those networks matter beyond the job itself.
That's really interesting. And even newer stuff, 2024 from New Zealand. Something about brain aging. That sounds kind of scary.
It is a bit alarming, yeah. The early findings suggest social isolation directly impacts how quickly our brains age. More isolation, faster brain aging.
Wow.
It really drives home that connection isn't just emotional, it's physiological. It affects our actual brains. Our social lives are part of our physical health.
Okay, this leads us into navigating some specific and often really tough mental health challenges. Let's start with one where there's often confusion. Suicide versus self-harm. Dr. Peterson really stresses they're different. What's the most crucial piece of practical advice he gives if you suspect someone is self-harming?
That distinction is so important.
Yeah.
Suicide, at its core, is about ending suffering permanently. It comes from deep hopelessness, helplessness.
Right.
Self-harm, though, is usually an attempt to relieve suffering through physical pain. It's a coping mechanism, even if it's a really destructive one.
Yeah.
Crucially, self-harm is not the same as suicidal behavior. But, and this is important too, it can slide into suicidal thoughts if the pain stops working, stops providing that relief.
So what's the advice?
The key advice Dr. Peterson gives is, if you suspect self-harm, do not immediately jump to asking, are you suicidal?
Okay. Why not?
It can shut the conversation down, feel accusatory, or miss the immediate pain they're trying to cope with. Instead, approach with care. Focus on their distress right now. Acknowledge their pain. Try to understand what they're going through.
That feels much more helpful. Okay, if the concern is suicide risk, what are the elements to look for when assessing that risk?
Right, so assessment involves distinguishing between just having thoughts, passive ideation, versus an active attempt. You look at the plan. Is it vague or detailed? Realistic or not? What's the potential lethality? Low, high.
Okay.
And critically, watch for extreme changes in behavior or mood. Big swings, sometimes a sudden unexpected up after a long depression can actually be a warning sign.
Right, like they've made a decision. So what does this mean for prevention? What helps?
Prevention really comes down to fostering connection over isolation, love over rejection, inclusion over exclusion.
Sounds simple, but hard to do sometimes.
It is. It means actively strengthening communities, pushing back against that lone wolf idea that glorifies going it alone. Dr. Peterson emphasizes that even just reaching out to people close to us, checking in, makes a huge difference. For them, and frankly for us too.
Connection again. Okay, quickly. Trauma. He mentions a couple of types.
Yes, lived trauma, that's someone's direct personal experience of a traumatic event. And historical trauma, that's more the collective cumulative wounding passed down through generations, often due to things like systemic oppression or major group disasters.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about addiction. How does Dr. Peterson define it? And are there types beyond the obvious, like substances?
He defines addiction as a treatable but chronic medical disease. It's complex, involves brain circuits, genetics, environment, life experiences, all interacting. The key feature is that compulsive use of a substance or engagement in a behavior despite negative consequences. And yeah, besides substances, alcohol. He lists addiction to negative emotions, compulsive exercise, repetitive activities, even food.
Addiction to negative emotions, how does that work?
It's like getting stuck in a loop of anger, resentment, or victimhood. Because in a strange way, it feels familiar or provides a certain kind of maladaptive comfort or identity. It's about that compulsive drive, even if the substance is an emotion or behavior.
Huh, okay. And recovery, what does that typically look like?
It's usually a multi-pronged approach. Almost always needs professional help, maybe detox, relapse prevention planning, groups like AA or Al-Anon, sometimes medication.
Okay.
But also, big changes in environment and relationships are often crucial. Getting away to triggers, building a healthy support system, and a big piece is acceptance. Accepting that, for many, it's a lifelong process, requires ongoing work.
If we know someone's struggling with addiction, how can we help effectively without, enabling or making it worse?
Good question. First, Dr. Peterson says, understand your own role, your boundaries. Don't get sucked in completely. Second, be prepared for denial. Most people initially deny they have a problem. The addiction serves a purpose for them, masks pain. Maybe they just don't want to stop.
Right.
Third, really internalize that sobriety is usually a long haul, a lifelong effort. Be patient. Fourth, listen. Offer support without judgment. But fifth, and this is key, always prioritize safety, theirs and yours.
Okay, solid advice. Shifting gears to the positive side of relationships again, Dr. Peterson points to 3 core qualities of a healthy one. What are they?
He boils it down to 3 things. Emotional security, feeling safe, trusted, like you can be vulnerable.
Okay.
Being best friends, actually enjoying each other's company, having fun, that deep companionship beyond just romance. And role formation, having roles within the relationship that are clear, respected, and work for both people, contributing to stability.
Emotional security, best friends, role formation.
Got that.
And he also gives 10 strategies for preventing intimate rejection, basically keeping relationships healthy. Can we maybe highlight a few that seem particularly, insightful or maybe less obvious?
Absolutely. There are the basics, like, communicate, say I love you, touch. Those are crucial. Point 1. But here are some others that really stand out. Point 3. Recognize and embrace change. Relationships aren't static things you set up and leave. They need constant work, adaptation. You have to evolve together.
Like tending a garden, not building a statue.
Exactly. Point 4. Continually try new things. Avoid stagnation. Shared new experiences keep things fresh and exciting. It fights boredom, which can be lethal to intimacy. Point 5. Avoid toxic people. This one's interesting. He uses an analogy. If you live in a radioactive bucket, you'll get cancer. Meaning if your wider social circle is toxic, that negativity will seep into and damage your intimate relationship.
Wow, that's a stark way to put it.
It is. And point 10. Understand your own life space and your partner's. This comes from Kurt Lewin's Psychology. It means really grasping your partner's world, their pressures, stresses, joys, influences, separate from your own, and seeing how those individual worlds interact, respecting their space while building a shared one.
That requires real empathy, more than just knowing what they like for dinner.
Much more. It's about understanding their whole context. Other points include self-awareness, 2, accepting conflict as normal, 6, maintaining other friendships, 7, shared core beliefs, 8. Turns out opposites don't attract long-term and vibrant sexuality where appropriate, 9.
That's a fantastic list, really practical stuff. All right, last area, helping someone in a mental health crisis. What are the key steps Dr. Peterson suggests?
First, he says prepare yourself. Before you jump in, take a breath, center yourself, get calm.
Good advice. Then,
Second, listen.
yeah,
Really listen, not just to the words, but the feelings behind them. What are they saying? Third, know those suicide risk assessment elements we talked about. Just be aware. Fourth, be supportive. Even if they push back, try to hang in there, offer support. But, and this is crucial, keep yourself safe too. Don't put yourself in danger.
right.
Fifth, avoid diagnosing. You're not their therapist. Your job is support, compassion, presence, not labels. And sixth, strongly encourage professional help. Offer to help them find it. Make the call, whatever support they need to take that step.
Be the bridge.
Exactly. Be the bridge to professional help.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive. It really has hammered home how interconnected everything is. Mental health, our sense of who we are, how we connect, they're all tangled together.
Absolutely. They profoundly influence each other.
And understanding these distinctions, these influences, it feels like it gives us, real power, insights for our own lives, but also for how we show up for others.
Definitely. And the stuff we've discussed, it's not just abstract theory.
Yeah.
It points to practical strategies, things you can actually do to build better connections, more resilience, navigate challenges more effectively. It's knowledge you can really use.
Yeah. And it leaves us with this, well, pretty compelling thought, doesn't it? Connecting back to that research. Social connection. It isn't just like a nice bonus or something your doctor vaguely suggests. The research is framing it as a core self-care strategy.
A fundamental one.
Yeah, one that might actually be more powerful than some traditional approaches for tackling things like depression, anxiety, trauma.
It's a paradigm shift, really.
It is. So the question for you listening is, how might that understanding, that connection is fundamental self-care, how might that reshape how you think about your own well-being and maybe even the well-being of your community? Something to chew on.